Hey there. So for this video, I wanted to kind of go over the ultimate basics. And really, to me, that's creating a character. There's class, background, species / race, and then different options for actually rolling and picking up the stats, and then equipment. That's kind of all the basics that typically you need to participate in a D&D campaign. Now, these are not in order. You can easily do them in whatever order you would prefer, or talk to your DM and make sure that there's not something specific that you guys are doing as a group. I'm going to kind of go over the basics of how it works and how I have my thought process. So let's get nerdy. For me, I tend to start with species. This is just for flavor. A halfling rogue can feel different than a dragonborn rogue. So lately, I have been picking Harengon. They are rabbit humanoids. Probably has to do with the nickname that I had. Language, I typically go with Sylvan. That's linked to the Harengon being Fae related. So for names, I am a visual person. So I Googled rabbit fur patterns, and I picked one that stood out. The one that stood out today was checkered giant rabbit. It was just large and had black and white spots. They are known as, I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, it is French, Géant Papillon. Papillon is my favorite movie. It means butterfly in French, so I'm going to go with that. So it's black and white, and his name is Papillon. After that, I work on background. I feel like characters should have jobs. Like, how did you pay for things in life before this? I also feel like this can affect where and how your character can grow. So for this guy, Papillon, I feel like he's a cook. Because of that, I'm going to pick guild artisan and guild merchant and cooking utensils. I know that there's an orc god of food, so for the extra language, I picked orc. The player's handbook has a great list of traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. I tend to look at these as suggestions. So for this character specifically, I am picking I like to talk at length about my profession and freedom. Everyone should be able to be free to pursue their own livelihood. So now he's a rabbit who is a free spirit that likes to talk about their food. Now here is where I differ from the D&D Player's Handbook and D&D Beyond. I pick goals for my character. Where is he trying to go and what is he trying to do? 4. Papillon, I have 4. First is to eat and share as much food and stories as possible. 2 is that while traveling, take the time to visit churches and temples around of any and all gods based on foods, the harvest, and hunting. 3 is in their travels, they want to host dinners and talk about food and stories, but they want to do it for like royalty and probably anywhere that has like an open kitchen or like a Benihana style kitchen. And 4, they want to go to fairs and they want to compete in cooking contests. So I'm thinking like state fairs and county fairs and all sorts of pies and different things that way. Just good old-fashioned fun. I think they would really enjoy that. Up next is picking a class. So I tend to look at it as what class pushes the story farther. You know, druid, being one with nature isn't bad. Ranger, you can track and hunt anything that you need. Bard, cooking as a performance. Really, there are pros and cons for any of them if you really sit down and look at it. For this one, I'm going to pick druid for the reasons of being one with nature and self-defense. I like being self-sufficient. I don't want to rely on others in my travels. Now is the time for the super nerdy part and going over the stats. First, I check to see what ability score increases I get for the species that I picked. For Harengon, they get a +2 and a +1, or a +1, a +1, a +1. Pretty much what that means is that I can pick +2 or +1 to go into a specific stat, or 3 different stats can all get +1, +1, +1, or one stat can get +1 3 different times. Now I don't pick where they go yet. I'm going to figure out my stats, and then I'm going to add them in to complement my class or story beats that I'm trying to pick. If you have questions, ask your DM specifically. There are normally 3 different ways in which you can get your stats in D&D. There's rolled, that's the original way. Then there is standard array and point buy, and those are newer systems. Those are used a lot in Adventure League because it makes things part of that standardized, so it's fair kind of across the board that way, and it can be shared from different tables. And specifically, ask your DM which ones you guys are going to be using. The way rolling works is you take 4 6-sided dice, you roll them, take away the lowest number, and you add the 3 other numbers together. You do this 6 times, and then you pick which numbers you want in which one of your stats, being strength, dexterity, Constitution, Intelligence, Wisdom, Charisma. This is just kind of the standard version of this in the original way. There are tons of variants to this, whether it's rolling 5d6 and removing the bottom 2, whether it's using a d20 so that way it can be bigger or lower. It's, once again, always going to be up to your DM about that. Next is called Standard Array. This one is the most simple. You get 6 numbers, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 15, and you pick which stat you want for which number. That's all it is. The next way is called Point Buy. The way this works is you start all of your stats at 8. You then have 27 points that you can use to buy points in your stats. Typically, the higher that you raise your stat, the more it costs. Example of this is, let's say you have an 8 in strength. You can spend 1 point to raise it to 9, 2 points to raise it to 10, 3 to 11, 4 to 12, 5 to 13. Those ones are all 1 for 1. The next 2 is a little bit higher. So to get 14, it's 7, and to get 15, it's 9. So those ones, instead of 1 point each, are 2 points each. Now, there are some variations to this. This is just the most common way. Hypothetically, you can raise 3 stats to 15 and then leave the rest all at 8, or mix and match however you want. When it actually comes to putting specific numbers into specific stats, that is always going to be specifically up to you. Most of the time, you pick the highest numbers for the best stats in your class. For Druid specifically, that's Wisdom. Then it's a dealer's choice of Dexterity or Constitution. That makes Intelligence, Strength, and Charisma either a mix of goals or story notes. You know, if I want to perform and cook publicly, I need to find a way to raise my charisma. So that's going to be something like a challenge that they have to overcome. The last thing that your character needs to be ready to play is equipment. This is always a conversation between you and your DM as to how it'll work. Typically it can be gold and you buy the items that you want, or it can be a set of starting equipment based on your class. My background gave me a tool, so I'm picking up cook's utensils for Papillon because it makes sense. That's everything that you need for the basics. That being said, grab your dice and let's get nerdy.